Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Lions Den podcast, Monday Night Football. Here to talk about everything in regards to Club Leon in English. As mentioned last podcast, we're going to pod today regardless of the result from yesterday. And I kid you not, I'm still kind of woke up very emotional and asking, like, are we still potting, guys? But hey, we're here to talk about everything that happened last night. Yes, we did suffer. We're going to talk about it here live. Shout out to everybody watching us via YouTube and Periscope. Let us know your thoughts. Share them. All the Fiera fans out there, let us know how you're feeling. Any comments, anything you want to talk about. We'll put the conversation on the screen. So interact with us. Let us know how you feel. The other piece to this pod, guys, Carlos and Louis. Louis, you were live there, so I can just imagine. But how are we feeling tonight?
Without getting into too many cliches, así es esto. There's no glory in victory without the possibility of something like this happening. We knew this was possible, and that's why they played the games. On paper, we were the favorites. It should have been straightforward, taking care of business at home, as it was for every other home team in the repechaje. But sadly, that was not our situation. It's not our reality. And it's not what happened. And it's painful. Although, perhaps, in my personal opinion, less painful than some of the more recent, some of the eliminations in recent memory that we can unfortunately have to think back upon, which we hate doing. But compared to some of those, it just feels a little bit different. It certainly didn't feel good or at all like this in the stadium, witnessing it live. It didn't feel like that at all. It was pure disappointment, agony, frustration. Like, why is it coming to this? Why do we need a late wonder goal just to force PKs? Why is any of this happening? We're better than this. We don't need this. And yet that's what happened. But my feeling is that, unlike in seasons past, where these eliminations came out of nowhere, LAFC, Morelia come to mind especially. Maybe not Toronto as much, but compared to those, this was a different kind of season than those seasons. The team was not. This was a season of brilliant moments and brilliant stretches, but it just had a different feel to it. The team was not firing on all cylinders like it was in those tournaments. And whether it happened last night or whether it happened a little bit later on in Liguilla, maybe we saw this coming. In a way, we didn't want to admit it. We didn't want to believe it. We wanted to think that, even missing our two most identifiable players and our overall team MVP and the team MVP of this season, both out. We wanted to believe there was still enough quality there to at least get this past this round and then see what happened. But I think in our heart of hearts, maybe we knew that this Liguilla, repechaje, whatever, this fase final was going to fall short of a bicampeonato. I think in my heart, I knew. I just didn't want to believe it. And now it's a reality.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's disheartening. You just feel defeated in a way. I mean, like you said, it was just been a weird season all season. We could never find our way. We never found a good rhythm. There was actually a stretch of games where, the month of April, where we kind of went on a little run. We had a winning streak going on. We looked our best. But after that, after that Mazatlan game, everything just kind of crumbled. And it reflected in last night's game. I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with missing our captains, our captain and co-captain. I think without them, it was going to be very difficult to beat a team like Toluca. But yeah, man, it's very disappointing. It's just, I don't know. I feel like we had a chance to make a title run, but we were like a handful of points away from getting that third position even. And I don't know. It's just been a weird season. It was a very weird season. But hats off to Toluca. They did what they had to do. Take nothing away from them. And now we have to live in this post Ambriz era and see where it goes.
Yeah, I've been saying, as have others, that I think the season was arguably over after that Mazatlan game. If that Mazatlan game plays out differently, if they turned it into the goleada that it was going to be, Montes doesn't get sent off. They win easily against Querétaro at home in the last jornada, and are firmly in the top 4 without having to play a repechaje. The vibe is just completely different. Perhaps the story ends completely differently. But that's not what happened. And when you have to play repechaje, in 90 minutes, anything can happen. I think Toluca is certainly not a better team than León, but they know what they want to do. They have, as we know too well, a great field general in Ruben Sambueza, who was fantastic yesterday. Just I can't. It's just so frustrating to see how good he still is. Shows no signs of slowing down. You wish he'd come back to the club to stay instead of wanting to be closer to Mexico City. I can't hate the man. I feel like that's not mutual. People boo him in the stands in León. I refuse to. I can't. I just can't boo that man anymore. And he killed us yesterday. I mean, his pass, his assist on the second goal to Canelo was a thing of beauty. You kind of just have to tip your hat to that. Toluca knows what they have to play for. And once they got to PKs, I was like, this is the top scoring team in Liga MX. They have a bunch of guys who can hit a PK, and we have Joel Campbell, So
and
Davila. Well, I didn't know about Davila's penalty taking abilities, but I remember watching Joel Campbell take a terrible PK in Seoul against Pumas in the winning streak against the 12. That was one of the 12 games in the 12-game winning streak. It was like, I don't remember which. It was pretty early on in that. We knew what the team was. But Mena decided to let Campbell take a PK, and he did exactly what he did last night.
Yeah. None of those guys. I feel like none of the guys that took a PK, I didn't feel comfortable with any of them taking a PK. To be honest, like if it's not because we have one designated PK kicker, and that's Michael Mena, and that's
who strangely wasn't the first taker or the fourth taker even.
Yeah.
Usually you put your best takers at number 1 and number 4.
Yep.
I don't even know if he was on the list, or would he have taken 5th? That wouldn't have made any sense. Yeah, that's another topic we can get into later, the order of the PK takers. I did not agree with that. I thought that was strange. But
but I didn't feel comfortable with any of them taking the PKs. And Jaido almost missed his. I mean, I don't know what he's doing with that left leg of his. I don't know if it's like on roids or something, but every ball he kicks is like 50 meters off. It's bad.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm listening to you guys and I agree with everything. I think what made me nervous, honestly, Carlos, is when you messaged us on the group saying, I'm feeling kind of nervous. And I think it kind of hit me a little bit more because it was like, you just don't know what's going to happen in 90 minutes. Yeah. And, I was really surprised on the lineup just because he literally went all attacking mode. Like, it was just like, I looked at the bench and I'm like, okay, so who's their super sub? Because I'm not seeing anybody on bench. I mean, so it was strange the way Ambriz came out with very attack-minded. And, I mean, we'll get into it. It's just, I don't know. I feel, I even tweeted, I was like, we wouldn't have been in this position if we would have beat Mazatlan. We wouldn't have been in the position if, obviously, because of the Mazatlan, Chapito would have not lost his marbles. And obviously, if we kept Navarro healthy, which that's inevitable, some things just happen. But it's just a lot of factors that play in and kind of put us in a situation like just the lineup yesterday. And I was like, well, where's the depth? You know what I mean? Gigliotti was just non-existent. You turn it on the bench. Who do we have? Godinez? No respect, but no disrespect, but there's no other replacement for him. You know what I mean? And the defensive line, I was struggling. I think I tweeted out, I was like, honestly, I think I say it and I will keep saying it. I think the youngsters should have started. Obviously, Ambriz with experience, which Carlos had kind of thought that was going to what was his scenario, probably more experience versus like. But I don't know. I mean, well, let's talk about the lineup. If that, shout out to Chango Loco. He says I still feel the team is hungover from last season. I think that's probably the best word to use. Hungover.
I don't think so. I think
no.
No, I don't think so either. I think they kind of shook that off. I think they shook that off. This was different. This was different. This wasn't a lack of.
I don't even know what it is. Like, what is the lack of? Like, what did we?
Well, it's not a lack. Well, actually, as I said on the chat, I think it's not a hangover, and it's not a lack of quality. You look out there; there's plenty of quality in that lineup. It's a lack of identity. Like the quality means nothing if there's nothing out there like organizing it all psychologically. And I think that's what players like Navarro and Chapito bring more than obviously their abundance of quality in and of themselves. We still had an abundance of quality out there. I think on paper it was still a better team than Toluca starting 11 that was out there, but they had no identity. Like they're just kind of out there winging it.
Yeah.
They really did. And what I was struggling with is that Colombato was just very isolated. Like he really couldn't do much. But then I feel like Meneses did not come back enough as you know, maybe he was trying to attempt to play that Navarrito role where he was just you would see him and Meneses was all the way up top. And I'm like, you can't leave Colombato on its own. Like they were killing us on the counterattack. Like literally, It was just I was cringing every time we were on a counter because I was like, oh my god, what is about to happen?
Which is clearly what Cristante wanted to do. Like he was gonna, like we were playing right into their hands by doing that. That's what they were gonna hope for a counter and play for the PKs. I think the PKs is what they were really shooting for from the beginning. It didn't happen the way they expected, but they got what they wanted.
Yeah, but
they got what they wanted They got what they wanted all night. The PKs, the run of play, everything. And we play right into it.
Well, I think one of the reasons we were countered on so much is because of the starting 11. We had Gairo and Avion, who are two attacking defenders, and all you had in the back was Casillo and Barreiro, and oftentimes they were just caught by themselves against 4 counter-attacking Toluca players. And every time that Toluca
to their credit, they made a bunch of miraculous tackles as they've been doing all season.
Yeah.
To their credit, but they shouldn't. I mean, they shouldn't be in those situations. I agree with you.
They shouldn't. Yeah, they shouldn't be in those positions. So I don't know. I mean, if we could go back, would you, instead of playing just Colombato as a recovering midfielder, would you rather have 2, knowing that
I would
have those 2 outer backs that are attacking in Gairo and Meneses?
That's the problem. Colombato is not a recuperador. His qualities are much more offensive. He's much more he's an attack-minded contención. He's a deep-lying playmaker, I guess you could say. He's not a recuperador. So you need to have a recuperador in there with him. And we can get into this later too, but I think, Carlos, you agree that's our biggest need. Yes, we need a center forward, but we need a true recuperador in the contención to pair with Colombato.
We have recuperadores, but they're not up to par.
That's what I'm saying. We need one. We need one who's up to par. Like theoretically is that, but he's not that.
We need someone at the quality of Pedro Aquino. Someone. Yeah. Because we just left that position blank, and we thought also was going to fill it, but he's not even.
Didn't work out that way, or it hasn't worked out that way yet. I'm still hopeful that he can have a better second season, but yeah, it didn't work out that way. It hasn't worked out that way to this point for sure.
Yeah.
No. Well, I guess with that, Carlos, let's give out the news and starting lineup. Sounds good?
Sounds good. Pre-game news. Obviously, Luis Montes wasn't starting. He was out serving a 2-game suspension. Doesn't matter at this point, but it did make a big deal during the game. Also, Colombato, we talked about this in the last podcast. We don't really like to talk about this now, but Colombato was acquired. We now own his card. And somebody who posted, Gotti, was that you who posted it was a 4-year deal?
Yeah, and shout out to Romo Vasquez, commentator to the NA. I always listen to him during the games, and he said that he revealed that it was a 4-year contract.
Okay, so 4-year contract for
Mhm.
It's
Colombato.
interesting because he's 24, right?
Yes.
Has he turned 24
Yeah.
yet?
I think he just turned.
He's 24.
Now, 4-year contract for a 24-year-old. If he plays it out, he'll be 28 by the time he finishes. He's not going to go to. I mean, that's not when you go to Europe. You go to Europe before that. So I don't know.
Unless there's a clause where
Either he really wants to like be part of León moving forward and turn into the next Chapo and all that kind of good stuff and build his life here, or I don't know. Maybe he just has a high buyout clause and he has no intention of staying that long. But they want
maybe he'll, maybe there'll be some scouts that'll scout him before his contract is even up.
Yeah, it seems like a long contract to sign for a player his age, when you would think his goal would be to get back to Europe before he's 28.
I mean, that still could be the case if he has a buyout clause, and there's a lot of more, obviously the champions and all that stuff, because still all the tournaments coming up. I mean, you just never know, I guess. I mean, we still have questions about Yaido and what that looks like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're Colombato and you're 24 and this team in Belgium doesn't want you, they just kind of sold you for less than $1 million, well, about $1 million. You take what you can. I mean, you want that financial security. You want that job security, which is you literally have a job for the next 4 years. And then whatever happens in between is, it's just business. Whatever happens in between. If you play well enough to catch some eyes from Europe, then you're on your way to Europe if the team is willing to negotiate. But in the meantime, you take that 4-year job security.
Definitely.
I mean, if he wants to become the next Sambuesa and pretty much play his entire career in Mexico, even though he has quality probably for somewhere else, that's fine with me. It's to the benefit of León for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, looking forward, it's going to be a pretty good midfield, especially given Fidel Ambriz and his level and what he showed last night. So that's pretty exciting. We have 2 very young midfielders, and hopefully they can really grow into something. Anyways, last point I was going to talk about was the 50% crowd admission at Estadio León. Louis, did you notice a difference?
No, it was about the same. I would say the same capacities in the previous games, which were, I think, 35%. I mean, there was a healthy crowd there, but there's been a healthy crowd every time. I heard people, I think, watching on TV who seemed to think there weren't that many people there. Like there should have been more people there for such an important game. But, I mean, it seemed like a decent-sized crowd to me.
Gotcha.
Not 50%, though. Definitely not 50%.
Not 50?
Yeah.
I guess they had the capacity of 50%, but not a lot of people made it.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it was 50% allowed. That is true. But
you think it was like 30% then? 35% of that?
Yeah. Third is somewhere around there. Maybe a little bit less.
Cool. All right, so let's go over the starting lineup. Surprises? I don't know. Maybe position-wise, there's surprises, but I don't know. Give me your opinions. We had Cota, we had Avion, Barreiro, Tecillo, and Moreno. That was our back line. Colombato and Meneses in the middle. Campbell, Davila, Mena, and Gigliotti up front. Surprises? I don't think. Well, we talked about Yaido probably not starting as a left back, but he did. Did that come as a surprise to you guys?
Didn't come as a surprise. I wish it hadn't been that way, though.
Yeah.
I would have started.
Campbell starting was a surprise.
Campbell starting is a little surprise until you consider who we had available.
True. Yeah. True. I don't know. I'm still stuck on the youngsters should have started. I mean, like I said at the beginning, it was a very attack-minded starting lineup. You know what I mean? Like Campbell, Gigliotti, Davila, them three on its own. It's like, okay, so where's the work going to come from? La recuperación, which you clearly saw was missing. I don't know if he played it the smartest way, honestly. I really don't. I don't.
So
think
did we play too offensive then?
I think we did.
I don't know. Like, Toluca has a leaky defense. I can understand why he'd want to take advantage of that. It almost paid off. I mean, Campbell almost had a golazo like in the first couple minutes that clanged off the post. You know, that would have changed the game completely if that had happened. Like, it would have been a different game. So it almost paid off for him. You can see what he was going for. It almost worked. Lone was really on the front foot until they got scored on. They were really threatening, and until they got scored on, then things changed. Obviously, whoever scored the first goal, it was going to turn the game on its head. But I understand what he was going for. It almost worked. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me the lineup because that's who was available. That's who we had available. Wouldn't have been my first choice. I would have moved Yairo up top, not up top, but up higher. More of a winger / wing back role, played Tecillo at left back, and put in Pedro Hernandez at center back. That's what I would have done. But I'm not the coach.
That's I think that's what we speculated in the last episode. That was our starting.
Other than
11.
that, I don't think I would have made any changes though. I liked the rest of it. And it almost worked.
It almost worked.
It almost worked. I don't know. I don't know if it's me. I just think we've had these games where it does not go Leon's way. Like, it just doesn't go their way. I mean, they had the opportunities, and it was just like back to back to back. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, why are we put in this position? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I think this one feels different though. Like this, you can't compare this one to like the loss against Toronto or LAFC or Morelia. Like you can't compare these because I don't know. I felt like these guys left it all out there. Like they went out there to play to win. In the other games that I just mentioned, there was nothing. Like we didn't show up at all. So I don't know if you can compare them. So this one hurts less. I know Louis mentioned this at the beginning of the pod. So it hurts less, and things didn't go our way. Yeah, some things didn't go our way, but it doesn't hurt as much as the previous.
But isn't it that feeling, Carlos, that it doesn't hurt as much because we've already been hurt like this before? Like not in the same way, but in the sense that like. I don't know. It just didn't go the way it was supposed to go because it could have been avoided.
we all agree that it hurts a little bit less, but for completely different reasons.
Yes,
I don't think it hurts any less. Personally,
you Carlos, because they put it all out. They left it all out there. You Cardi because it's happened before, and me because deep down we saw this coming. You know.
Well, it hurts less for me because I was at the.
Because we saw it coming.
It hurts less for me because I was at the LAFC game and I saw that.
Yeah,
that
against
comeback.
LAFC,
You're traumatized. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody saw that coming.
More than that.
Against Morelia, nobody saw it coming. Like they played really, really well in their away leg and then blew it at home. This was different.
Okay,
this one, this was different because it was just a weird season and you knew things could just go south, especially after that Mazatlan game. You knew things could go south. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's why.
Everybody listening, and I can answer this question. Which of them hurts more? Okay, I know this is probably the games that we don't say. Versus Tigres, versus Toronto last year, versus LAFC Toronto, or versus Morelia, or versus Toluca. Which one of them hurts less? Would you say this one?
I would say
less.
Okay.
The one that hurts the most, for me, it's a tie between LAFC and Tigres. Because I really wanted us to win.
I agree with that.
I really wanted us to win that first championship because it was a historic run. And just seeing the way Tigres played us and how they parked the bus on us and what a boring final it was. I just wanted to win that. But LAFC won. I was there live, so that one kind of matches it. It hurts just as much.
For me, it's between LAFC and Morelia. Tigres, not so much, because I still thought that was a great season. I was kind of happy with that season. The 12 wins. Nobody expected anything of us that season. And to come out and have the season that we did, and the seasons that had preceded that one, which were so awful that I'd been there for every moment of, yeah, it was really disappointing. But that one's not up there for me. Also because I think Tigres, you might not like the Tuca ball, but they outplayed us in that final. They were the better team in that final, and there was no doubt about it for me. So that one doesn't hurt as much. It's between LAFC and Morelia.
Okay.
Just because you have to understand how being there, seeing Mena score the goal that put us through, and how everybody reacted, and then have it taken away by VAR. I just can't even.
Would that game make you cry if you watch it again and put yourself in that like feeling of this is the worst? Oh no!
What happened?
Louis left. Having issues.
No.
Oh.
Louis, your
I'm
camera
here.
went off.
Your camera went off.
Oh, because somebody was calling me on WhatsApp. Sorry, that's why I think the camera. I declined it.
What were you saying?
Right. I don't know. What were we talking about?
Oh yeah. So just having that happen, that it didn't mean as much, I suppose, as a final or in the Conca Champions, really, but it was so painful. So those two are up there for me.
I have a lot of comments on the chat. First, Sanaku said, this one hurts less. Okay.
That's right, yeah, it does.
Jose Espinosa said, for me, LAFC saying it hurts less or more? I'm curious.
He followed it up.
Oh, okay. Okay, so before his follow-up, Anthony Elias said the final against Tigres hurt because of how great we played during the season. Kind of goes back to what Carlos was saying. I was very frustrated, and they did outplay us, and that was the frustrating part because we knew how they were going to play. We fell in the trap. You know what I mean? Yeah. But we were still limited on people. We didn't have as much depth as we did in that final. Let's see. Oh, Josue said, correction, for me, LAFC hurt most. He also said Tigres did not hurt me because Leon had no bench and did more than we expected. LAFC hurt. I was also there live. There was nothing for us to cheer for.
There was nothing to cheer for.
No, that's the best way you could summarize that game. Lika Meggy said, saludos. Hello. Thanks for joining. Anthony Leo said, but Leon certainly needs to improve on the internationals. Who had said repetitively since last season on the pod.
Yeah. So what are the numbers? LAFC, I guess, hurts the most.
LAFC hurts the most. Yeah. I honestly don't know which one hurts less because I think they all hurt in different ways. As corny as that sounds, I just think yesterday, lo de Fidel Ambriz was insanely amazing, and now it's awesome to remember. It's just obviously the penalty is a coin toss. That
gave us hope. Hope. And in every other case, we didn't really have any hope.
Yeah. No, yeah. I was like, we're done. 89 minutes. I was like, oh my God, that just happened.
It was the most unexpected player. He was I don't think anybody expected him to score, especially in that manner.
I think it was the first ball that he got a grab on. Is it correctly? I think so.
I think so.
Meadows said hello from Mexico. Hello.
Thanks for tuning in.
Meadows, let us know what loss hurt the most, and then we'll talk about it. With that being said, go at the 89th minute from Fidel Ambriz, like Carlos said, giving us hope. Move on to penalties. Louis, I know you had your talks about the way the order of these penalties were taken. Go ahead and give us your thoughts about that.
Well, I mean, you start with your best taker, and if you're not going to use him in the first spot, use him in the number 4 spot. Also, one thing that really confused me, I'm not sure who won the coin toss to determine who would kick first. Generally, you want to kick first, but if you choose to kick first, then the other team chooses, I believe, which goalpost they're going to shoot at.
Mm-hmm.
So why would Leon shoot second and shoot right at the Toluca fans? I do not understand that. That makes no sense to me. If they're going to shoot second, they should choose their own goalpost to shoot at. Make it harder on Toluca. Just none of it made sense to me. And then the order of the takers, like, it was Jairo, Campbell, Godinez, and Davila were the first 4, the only 4 that ended up taking a kick. Those are like the last takers I would choose. Probably, maybe not Davila, but like the other 3 should be only if you have to go to. They should only shoot if you have to go to sudden death. Really, it should be Mena. Of the people on the field, I would have chosen Mena, Casillo, Barreiro, probably anyone else, even Cota. I would have chosen Cota. Yeah, like none of it made sense to me.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, at that point, you're like, if you put yourself in a situation where you need penalties to advance, it's a coin flip. That's it. You know, like either this goes our way or it doesn't, no matter who shoots in what order and when. And looking back on it, the order makes no sense to me. The fact that they shot second and at the opposing team's goalpost makes no sense to me. But you know, it happened the way it happened, and it's over.
I just never felt comfortable with any of these guys coming up. I mean, from the beginning, Jairo, I was like, I don't know about Jairo. Like,
he should have been the first.
I don't think I've ever seen him shoot a penalty. And I swear to God, when I saw that go off the post, I was like, he missed that. And then they called it in, and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Yeah, it bounced back to just enough of an angle to cross over.
Barely made it. Yeah. And then I saw Godinez, and I was like, okay, he's a striker. Maybe he knows how to kick. And
his was the best one.
His was the best one. Yeah, his was the best one. And then Campbell just completely.
He looked nervous. Like you would read his face.
Out of rhythm, like no power, no strength behind the shot. He just kind of rolled it to the keeper. And then Davila, let's just not talk about that one because that was like a mile off.
Okay, I guess Mena was still terrible. An option, right? Mena was still an option.
Yeah, he was probably going to kick last.
Okay, but didn't we talk about this? Didn't we talk about the liderazgo that he has to be on the field and how he was shushing everybody? And then what? He chooses to kick last? If anything, he should have been the first one. Sorry, I mean, I'm just so irritated because I agree. I think player by player in the penalties is like, oh no, like literally. But I do agree. I think Godinez was the best one out of everybody. And I mean, I'm honestly feel that Ambriz should have gotten one. I mean, Campbell had no business. Davila had no business. I agree. Carlos Jairo gave me nervous because he was the first one, and I was like, the first one to kind of like, has to make it to give the team confidence. And I had the same thought. It was kind of like a blink of an eye when you're like, oh my God, did he make it or not?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just mad at the penalties.
Yeah, I mean, there's theories about taking PKs. Usually the team that kicks first has better odds of winning the shootout. But you want your best taker to either go first or fourth. So when I didn't see Mena first or fourth, what are they doing? And who's making this decision?
Yeah.
Is Ambriz making this decision? Is Ambriz making this decision? Or is Capitan Cota making this decision? I don't know.
I think it's on the players. I think whoever wants to kick one raises their hand and steps up. If you feel confident.
They have to make the order of kick takers beforehand and give it to the referee. I know that. Mm-hmm. But I'm wondering who's making the final decision on that. I don't know.
For that list?
Yeah.
It just didn't seem like it was handled in in the way that would have led to optimal results, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, it didn't go our way. It didn't go our way, unfortunately.
I mean,
And,
also Copa had a good game. I would have hoped he could have saved at least one. I'll be honest with you guys. I missed Yarbrough in that shootout.
he was a good
Yarbrough's best skill
PK
is
stopper.
saving penalties. At least it was when he was a member of Leon. His best skill. He can't play his area very well, but he's an amazing shot stopper and a great penalty stopper. And I mean, I remember the only shootout I've seen Leon win live in person was in the octavos de final de Copa at home against Pumas.
Yep.
If you guys remember that game,
I remember.
This would have been in the Apertura 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that game.
And it went to sudden death, and Yarbrough basically won that for us. He made a couple of saves in that shootout. And
Cota wasn't even close. Like
he wasn't even close on any of them. And I figured Luis Garcia, the Toluca goalkeeper, he made some big saves, impossible saves, seemingly in the game itself. So I knew he was fired up, and he'd probably be on his game for the shootout. So that didn't give
Cota was just terrible all game.
That didn't stir up a lot of confidence either.
Yeah. Cota was just terrible all game. I mean, first goal, even the second goal, you kind of looked relaxed, kind of looked like these guys aren't gonna make it. It's not going in. That one ball that went off the post, you can see the last second, he kind of just moves his hand out of the way, thinking it's gonna go out wide, and it ends up hitting the post. You gotta make that. You gotta make that save. Like you gotta make that save. You gotta send that to the corner. Like it's all right, man. Like this is a do or die. You can't just feel relaxed and assume that it's gonna go out wide, because that would have been goal number one. It would have fallen on him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was kind of disappointed in Cota, his performance.
Definitely. Did you guys have any hot takes? Or we rested on? You guys slept there like hot takes.
Do we have hot takes?
Anybody in the chat has any hot takes? Louis, did you have one?
Did I? I think Carlos had one yesterday in our chat. About
what did I say? I forgot what I said.
You said that the club's greatest need moving forward, everybody thinks it's a striker. But you think it's a central defensive midfielder.
Yeah. It was pretty obvious yesterday. The way we were getting killed on the counterattack. The way that we really had no midfield presence. I mean, the entire first half was the passes, they were off target. Some of them were long, some of them there was nobody in the midfield. There was no midfield presence, like at all. I don't even remember Colombato having a midfield presence. So yeah, I mean, we need to have that midfield presence, somebody who can recover the ball when we lose it and make sure that they're the first line of defense during counterattacks. So that's what I think. That's my hot take. We need a central defensive midfielder more than we need a striker. And when we had Pedro Aquino, we kind of proved that you don't need a striker to win a championship. Even though Gigliotti showed up, yes, I know that. But previous seasons, we did everything we did without a proper striker.
Yeah.
So if you have a good central defensive midfielder, you have good attacking on the wings, solid defense, good goalkeeper, you can do some damage. You can have a good team. No counter thoughts.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I think I was thinking of like possible options as what we need. I was also thinking about, you said Colombato. I think he was stretched out too thin. I think he needed help, and I don't, Meneses was very offensively, and Colombato was kind of left to just not go up as high because literally he was just back with Tecillo and Barreiro. I mean, he didn't have any other option. So I think he needed help, and there was no other help. Like I said, you look on bench. I mean, Who else? I mean, obviously, I was kept saying Fidel Ambriz, but that was not sound like a broken record at this point. Well, Josue agrees with you. He said, "Well said."
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Also, Meadows said, "I'm not a fan of La Fiera. You need to become one, please." But I guess CONCACAF was the most unexpected elimination.
CONCACAF. Which one though? There's two.
He probably means the first one.
Yeah. Well.
LAFC one.
I don't know. A lot of people expected us to beat Toronto.
I mean,
myself, I was like, well,
everybody expected us to beat Toronto, but just the state of the team this season compared to that one. I think the one against LAFC, and especially the way they played first leg.
So who also said, I did not think of that. I was thinking only the need of a number 9 after seeing all the misses from Mena this season. I guess it'd be interesting if we go back and reel the clips of how many opportunities Mena had. I mean, I think even in the broadcast, what game was it? Was it against Mazatlan? Like the latest game that he had, like in abundant amount of possibilities, and it was just like, just put it in, Mena. Just put it in. The goal's not moving anywhere.
Here's my hot take, I guess, if you can call it that. A lot of people are saying it.
Can we do a clip?
If you want, yeah.
Louis' hot take.
Mena's got to go.
Mena's got to go.
Mena's got to go.
Chat, do we agree? Do we agree with Louis?
He had some great seasons. He's done a lot, but at this point, he's more remembered for what he didn't do. And I think he's given what he can to the organization, and I think it's time to find a new option coming up the right wing.
That's a very hot take.
Maybe something as simple as you just move Avion back up there and move Navarro back to right back instead of in a more of a contención role. You need maybe just another option there. I think it's time. I think it's time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's a counter hot take.
All right.
If you get rid of Mena, he's our highest goal scorer. As many misses as he had this season, he's our highest goal scorer. So just imagine if he would have scored all those misses, he would have had double the goals. But he's been our highest goal scorer since he got to La Fiera. So where do you find goals now, Louis?
Well, from the rumored acquisition of Santiago Ormeño, of course, Carlos.
But
his favorite player on earth.
He's a target. He's a target striker. He's not a creator like Mena.
Right, but imagine having him on the end of some of those crosses in from Meneses and Davila instead of Gigliotti or Mena. You know,
makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think we'll get into Ormeño talk if you guys want to, but I think he's a little bit overrated, in my opinion. That's hot take, but we'll get into that later, I guess.
Senako said yes, Louis. Senako agrees with you. Also, Changoloco says goodbye, Mena. And Josue says yes, Mena has to go. We lose more than we gain.
Okay.
I think we still have 6 months of Mena, but could something happen between that time? And Fernando Renteria said, I agree with Louis. Louis, your hot take is flaming.
I mean, it's not. I didn't invent it. It's been floating around. First time heard on a Club Leon podcast in English. That's probably true, but yeah. We think of him more for his misses and for his makes, and a lot of those goals were from the spot, and even some of his penalties haven't been that great, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think you just got to look for another option there. I'm looking for, addition to the new coaching hire, like at least 3 or 4 refuerzos this window. We got a long window now. It's a long time before Leon will play a competitive match again.
Yeah.
It's not going to be. They're saying either the last weekend of July or the first weekend of August will be match day 1 of the Apertura 2021. And if they were to play I'm still waiting for some sort of word on the Campeón de Campeones, maybe played at Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, as it often is. Still waiting for some kind of word on that. But if they play that would only be like 1 week before the season starts. So it's going to be a long time before León plays a match again. They've got a long time to sort themselves out. So I'm hoping they can find some refuerzos to fit into possible new coach, not quite yet confirmed, but very, very likely Ariel Holan, his new system.
So Josue has a counterattack. Take. Eligia, Mena disappears. You need a bench for Mena.
You mean a substitute?
Yeah.
So not get rid of him, but bench him. Nah, I don't know.
Well, if we don't get rid of him in the next 20 days, I think he's free to negotiate with any team that he wants without having to, I guess, advise the club. So, yeah, in the next 20 days, if we don't extend him, then I don't think he's coming back.
So,
which is
I guess
good news, I guess, for Louis.
Yeah. So going back to the whole striker thing, we kind of, Gigliotti is going back to Toluca. I think Godinez is still what? Is he still with us?
No, he's back. He's going back to Chivas.
He's going back? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was reported today that Gigliotti is gone, that his option, we already knew his option wouldn't be picked up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or we assumed his option wouldn't be picked up, but I think it was today confirmed. And that he's likely to go back to Independiente, which is the club he probably had the most success with in Argentina, and is also the club that Ariel Holan had the most success with. And apparently their relationship is not good, and that's part of the reason his option is not being picked up, potentially. Yeah.
So, striker position. Louis, I know you're a fan of Santi. Maybe give us a couple of, bullet points of why León should consider.
I mean, asterisk. I do like him. I think he's a good striker. I think he's been a revelation in Liga MX these past 2 seasons. His aerial game is just something we don't have. It's an element we don't have anywhere on the roster. I mean, our best aerial threats right now are our center backs, and that's not a good thing. Ormeño is an elite aerial threat, but asterisk. He wouldn't be my first choice. I think you all know my first choice would be Nicolás Ibáñez from Atlético San Luis. He would be my first choice, but I think my second choice would be Ormeño. I like him. I think he's a clinical finisher, and he's got a great aerial game. And overrated maybe, but overrated does not mean bad. He's far better than any striker option we have right now.
Okay, I have a hot take.
Okay.
Should we count the penalties he scored in his goal scoring number? Because honestly, half of those are penalties. So what are we really basing off? And I agree with Carlos. He did say it, and I've said this before, probably off camera. I think he's overrated. I don't know. Maybe it's just a conspiracy I have that a lot of these commentators, game by game, they have a lot to do with just different things of hyping a player, or dissing a player. I just don't see it. That's just me.
Again, overrated does not mean bad. Overrated.
I just don't think he's the best.
He's not the best. I say he's not my first option, but he's a way, 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 way better option than any option we have at striker right now. So if they want to bring him in, adelante,
But it would be a shame if he comes and he doesn't fit in. It would be a shame. And about the penalties, I don't really care because they're penalties. You have to shoot them. You have to have somebody who knows how to make them. I mean, Mena, how many penalties does Mena have?
That's the thing. You can say the same thing about Mena. Any argument about keeping Mena has to be based on his goal scoring too, and half of his goals or more over the last couple seasons are PKs. So, it's the same thing.
Chat. Any thoughts, chat? You guys have been very interactive tonight.
On Ormeño.
On Ormeño. What do you guys think about Ormeño? think he's
Santiago
overhyped. Do you
Ormeño.
like him as a possibility for La Fiera? I don't know. I'm just.
One more thing about Ormeño that I don't think anybody's talking about is his age. I think he's like 31 or 32, so he's up there. He's not a particularly young striker.
Young. Yeah,
he's not super young. So if you're gonna go after this guy, and he does well, you're gonna have to extend him in the future, and you're gonna probably keep him up to Gigliotti's age. And we didn't want Gigliotti because he was too old. We didn't want Boselli because he was too old. So what?
Sorry, Carlos. I have to well actually you. Santiago Ormeño is 27.
Oh, he's 27.
Yeah.
He does look what Carlos said. I was like, ooh, he's more on that.
Okay. Never mind. Scratch everything I just said. I thought I saw like 30, 31 somewhere. My bad.
No, I looked it up real quick here on my on my computer because it didn't seem right. No, yeah, he's 27.
My bad. I apologize. Thank you to the chat for correcting me, and thank you for Louis for correcting me.
27. Sanaku says, I wouldn't mind him coming. I don't know. I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced.
Well, I don't think
I would rather have Ibanez. I really would. I would rather have Nicolas Ibanez, but they're talking about Ormeño, and it's a good option. It's a good option. It's a good option. It's not the best option, but it's a good option.
Yeah, and I don't think he's being used properly in Puebla. I mean, how many times was he benched this season when Puebla needed a striker? I think he was left out of the game against Santos, like the last game of the season, and they needed scoring, and he was on the bench. So I don't know. I think they're undervaluing his role and what he can do. So yeah, I mean, if he's not happy there, that's why Jesus Martinez already confirmed that they have talks with his agent. And yeah, I wouldn't be mad if we picked him up. I wouldn't be mad at that. He was actually a good pickup. But like Louis said, I prefer Ibanez.
Josué Espinosa said, in regards to the Ormeño, hunting for the right price is okay, but what are the options in the budget in the market? Question mark.
Well, we'll have to wait and see on that.
I guess, yeah, budget-wise. Like, I mean, we're not balling like Tigres spending 27 mil, right? Like, what is it? I think the amount that he was bought for covers like 3 whole teams in Liga MX.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that it's going to work out.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened with the other Frances, Andy Delors. It kind of
Andy Delors
didn't really go well. I mean, we're not balling like that, but maybe we can get someone at a good bargain price, right?
I mean, I think, they caught lightning in a bottle with Gignac, and now they think that everyone they bring over is just going to fit in right away. I think it's going to backfire on them.
Yeah. It's going to be another...
that's neither here nor there.
Who's the guy that America tried to get?
Jeremy Menez.
Yeah.
He didn't work out either.
Oh, no. He was a disaster.
Yeah.
So... moving on to, like Louis had mentioned, shout out to MX Draft, kind of being the most accurate. They confirmed him. It's not club official, but MX Draft confirmed Ariel Olan, the other new technical for Leon. Thoughts? Surprise?
It's only not official. It's not official because obviously the club is preparing some kind of grand announcement with Nico Sosa in a tuxedo and everything to to make the announcement of the news official. That's my thinking.
Yeah. Good.
No, it's an exciting hire. I had my doubts about whether it would happen. Leon is the kind of club where a lot of names get mentioned and none of them get signed. That we kind of we're haunted by that. Like, yes. Leon is interested in this person. Leon is interested in this person, whether it's player, coach, whatever, and then it just never happens, and then we end up with Marcos Caicedo. So
you always go back to Marcos Caicedo. He signed my phone.
I know he did. but it's the first example of just a terrible refuerzo. Anyway, so for this to be the guy they wanted, like the big name mentioned, and for someone like Pablo Guede, who I think would have been a good option too, as the second option. But no, this is the guy they really want, and they're going to get him. I think that's a good omen, a good sign of things to come. And I think having a South American manager we have a base of principally made up of South American players. I think that could. It's not that they didn't understand Ambriz or get along with him, but I just think having that extra connection might be an added benefit. He's obviously a manager that's had some success at a very, very high level, winning a Copa Sudamericana with Independiente, and Chilean First Division with Universidad Católica. And he's a new, fresh face and fresh blood for the Liga MX, and I think that has value in and of itself. Like they're not going to the carrousel de siempre, just to replace Ambriz, which they would have when they needed a coaching hire in the past. Which, here's the funny thing, I think Ambriz was considered part of that carrousel when he was brought in.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. I think the thing we have most to thank Ambriz for is for exceeding what was expected of him when he came in. I don't think anyone in their right mind expected him to marcar una época the way he did in León. When he came in, he was just one of the siempre disponibles in the carrusel de siempre. Like, he was just, when your project fails in the middle of the tournament, there's a group of guys who are always available. And at that point, he was just one of them. He was one more. He was one more Tomás Boy. And he came in and completely exceeded expectations. And by doing that, raised the bar of what Club León is expected to be. So that when he decides to leave and a new coaching hire comes up after him, not like when it was with Torrente or Chavo Diaz. Like, you're not going to go from Torrente or Chavo Diaz to Ariel Holan. But by Ambriz doing what he did and marcando una época, like, he raised the bar for León. And now, when they want Ariel Holan, they do what is needed to get Ariel Holan to replace Nacho Ambriz, and they don't get Chepo de la Torre, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think he set the bar pretty high, because the last couple of seasons have been, León has been one of the contenders. It's been a title contender every season, and if we get a coach, like Louis said, from the recycle bin, we're just going to go back to being a mediocre team like when we had Torrente or Chavo Diaz. And I think it's good. It speaks highly of León. It speaks highly of Jesus Martinez, who's committed to this project. And it's a shame that Ambriz had to leave the way he did, especially with those comments at the end that he made about the fans. I don't know if you guys heard them. But he threw shade at the fans, and he said, you know what? These fans who didn't like me when I first got here, now suddenly they want me. I don't think that was the correct way for him to leave, but whatever. He's gone now, and this
nothing about his leaving was correct.
Nothing about it was correct.
Yeah.
But as far as this new coach, Holan, I don't know much about him. I still haven't researched him too much. Josue Espinosa said something in the chat that maybe we should talk about. Where did he say? He said, watching pundits in Argentine soccer shows, Holan, he is a great choice. So, I mean, according to everyone that I'm seeing, all the outlets, all the fans, everybody's saying he's a good choice. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if he maintains our style of play and our creativity, our offensive style of play, and hopefully we continue to be contenders.
Definitely. It gives continuity to kind of what you guys said. Nacho Ambriz left, and maybe just make his own adjustments, which I did read a tweet about maybe if he's going to possibly replace Mana, or what that looks like, which obviously we talked about earlier in this pod. Josue is saying maybe this coach will help the international stage, and like Louis said, it is refreshing to avoid the carousel because it's a non-stop Ambriz definitely raised the bar. Intanaku's led, but Louis said new face instead of the recycle coaches. So we did not dig our hands into the recycling bin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also we have a real opportunity here. It's the end of Ambriz, but it's not the end of the era because La Base, o sea, se queda. It's the same. It's basically going to be the same group of players. And so I'm excited to see what a new voice can get out of them. I really am. I think we have a real opportunity here because the Base is good. It just needs it needed a new voice, and it's needed a new voice, I think, for a while. And now we're going to get one. But it's just hopefully it sets a new tendency. Like they're getting their guy. This is the guy they wanted, and they're getting him. That's unusual for León. So hopefully it becomes a tendency.
Yeah, last thing about Ambriz. You guys know where he's headed? Because he said in the post-match interview that he doesn't have any offers on the table. He said he's going to sit out for a couple of months.
That's the strangest thing to me. Like, it's not. He just didn't. It's not. It's just that he didn't want to be here anymore. It's not that he has any offers.
No.
It's not that he has anything better lined up.
Though?
He just didn't want to be here anymore.
But why?
And that's disheartening.
You have a great project in front of you. You have like one of the best projects in Liga MX, maybe the top one, and you don't want to. You're going to be the third or fourth highest paid coach. Why wouldn't you want to be here? What's the problem, Louis?
I don't know. I mean, I have no explanation for it, but it's disheartening. It's not.
It is.
There's stuff behind the scenes that maybe we don't know about. Just broken relationships, and maybe he feels like he doesn't have the ear of the players anymore. I mean, by watching them play for him, I don't have, especially after that Mazatlan game, I don't have the hardest time believing that there's a bit of a rift there. I mean, maybe he just doesn't think he can. Maybe he just doesn't think he can do it anymore, or maybe he can't handle the expectations. I mean, he's got two failures in Conca Champions, and all these. And this is my thing about Ambriz. For all the great memories he's left with us, there's also a lot of bad ones.
Yeah.
There are probably more bad ones than good ones at this point.
Do the good outweigh the bad, though?
When you do think about that, what Louis said.
It's like maybe he can't handle that anymore. Maybe he just can't deal with it anymore. Maybe he just needs to be away from it. I don't know, but it's like weird. It's weird. He doesn't have any offers. He just wants to leave.
I don't. I honestly think he did not want to be at León anymore. Pedro Bermudez said something about money. I'm not really buying it. I really think, like what Louis said, that I don't think I just don't think he could hold up to that high bar that he already has created in regards to how much of a team, how great of a team they play, and Joga Bonito and all this stuff. But I do agree. I think there was a lot of question marks, a lot of things that were unfinished that León should have copped.
Yeah, I mean, well, the other thing is, I don't know. I kind of feel like he decided that no matter what, this was going to be his last season, and I think he probably expected to have offers by now. I get the impression that he thinks very highly of himself and what he's done here, and that he thinks the football gods and the game owe him something, and that he seems to think that he deserves something bigger at this point, and he decided that this was going to be his last season no matter what, and for sure he'd have offers by now, but he doesn't have any offers. It's a little strange. It's a little strange, and it's unsettling. It's like whether true or not, it makes us just feel like he just doesn't like us anymore.
Just abandoning us, Louis.
He just doesn't like us. He doesn't like us anymore. Something as simple as that.
I don't know. It's kind of weird how he went out for months just saying, I love it here. The people here love me.
He was gaslighting us, Carlos.
Yeah. Like, how could you do that to us, man? How could you do that to us? I don't know.
I'm fine with it. It's time for a new voice. It's been time for a new voice, and we're getting a new voice. And and with the rumors of Ormeño, even if you're not a big Ormeño fan personally, just the idea that they're not giving up on this. They're hitting this head on. They're bringing in their top choice coach, and they want to bring in refuerzos too. I mean, they don't want to just stay competitive. They want to get better.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think that leaves us with a pretty promising future. And I'm already excited about next tournament. I mean, still frustrated about what happened last night, but without this necessarily really being a championship caliber team like it was last tournament, I'm ready to look forward, and I'm excited about what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you're optimistic. Like 24 hours, about to be 24 hours after, because I'm still hurt, but I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Sanaku said maybe Olan will bring a player from Santos FC. I mean, our fear was when Nacho, if Nacho had any potential plans, that he would take some of our players. Not saying it can't happen, but
I don't think.
Well, now that he's not going to Tigres, I'm not concerned about that.
Anywhere but Tigres, anywhere in Liga MX at this point.
Yeah, but this comment, I don't think it's gonna happen because he was only there for like a couple of weeks. So I don't think he has the influence on the players to, tell them, hey, come join me over here in Mexico. Leave everything that you have in Brazil. Actually, you know what? I spoke to a couple of my ex-coworkers who happen to be Brazilian. They live in Brazil. And I spoke to them as soon as I heard about Olan coming to La Fiera. And I said, hey, what do you know about Santos? They're like, well, they have a really good striker. So I don't know. Maybe if he has a little bit of influence, a little bit of a voice, he can talk to that striker and have him come to La Fiera. Maybe, I don't know. Well, I don't think it'll happen, but that's probably the only wish I have.
Yeah, or you see how Solari came and he brought what's his name? I can't remember. Ándale. Possibility. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say it might not be from Santos specifically, but clearly this guy's got a long trayectoria, and he certainly, I'm sure he has favorite players from previous stops. They all do. So, yeah, I'm sure he could try to coax some of his favorite players to come in who know his system, who he's comfortable with. Just a matter of whether the Directiva gives him the freedom to do that. Hopefully they do.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Josue was leaving us, but he said P.S. Ambriz was getting offers and the dressing room looked uneasy after benching Cota, which we did talk about at the podcast about what was going on between Cota and Ambriz. I think Nacho will have offers for sure, but at the right time they will come up.
Whatever happened with Cota? We're never gonna know what happened.
I mean, he tweeted "Happy 115 years" and blah 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 blah, but
that was rumors.
I didn't like seeing that. I know you loved it. I know you loved it, Gotti, but I didn't like seeing that.
Louis, stop it. Jose Espinosa, I think maybe he's gonna run, but he said, "Thank you for the great season of podcast, Lions Den crew. I got to run, but I love the show. Take care. Can't wait for next season or next episode." Thank you so much, Jose, for joining us.
Yeah, we should be back next season.
Season 5. I guess just a quick rundown, guys. Atlas versus Tigres, the repechaje. Carlos, what do we say?
We got it.
We got it.
Yeah.
Atlas.
I don't know. I just felt like Tigres weren't there mentally. They weren't. Like the whole thing about Tuca leaving, I think, is kind of like with us and Ambriz leaving. It kind of just, for them, it just the boat started sinking when that announcement was made. And same thing for us. Once that announcement was made, everything changed, psychologically, mentally. Just everything kind of changed. Because when you have a coach that doesn't want to be there and just wants to leave, I mean, the players kind of just they're kind of just whatever. Let's just finish the season.
Yeah, it's very parallel. It's a parallel season to ours. A very similar, comparable season to what we had. We came off our Liga MX title. They came off their Conca Champions, and then we're a Club World Cup final, and everybody was high on both of our teams, and then we suffered through the same kind of issues through the season and had similar finishes. I hate comparing León to Tigres in anything, but our seasons were similar and had similar outcomes.
Definitely. Next game, Santos versus Querétaro, which we kind of predicted a more one-sided. I stopped watching after 2-0 because I was trying to watch the Canelo fight. So at halftime, I went to watch the Canelo fight. I checked the game and I was like, oh, 5-0. And I think right when the game started, they confirmed BT renewal for a year as Querétaro's coach. So definitely interesting timings for that. Obviously, we talked about our loss in penalties, which I think we predicted. I mean, I think for the most part, we're like, oh, we could see a Pachuca Chivas going to penalties, but we ended up going to penalties. But Pachuca beating Chivas 4-2. Yes, Louis, I know you were jumping up and down for sure.
I wasn't jumping up and down because it was right after we lost. And
Yeah.
I was hungry, so I went to, after the game, I went to a wings place at Centro Max Mall, and where I knew that they would have the Chivas Pachuca game on a big screen. So I did watch it. I watched almost the entire game. But I mean, yes, I was content with that result, but I wasn't outwardly happy by any stretch because of what had just happened to us.
I was planning on watching it, and after Leon lost, I did not watch it. I did not. I refused. I was in a mood. I refused.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably the only good takeaway from yesterday for me. Seeing Chivas get eliminated.
Convincingly, in a
very.
And I had said that I thought that that Pachuca's home field advantage would be a factor, although almost all the fans in the stadium were Chivas fans, so that made it even better.
Yeah, and it's weird. Nobody's saying Pachuca's a title contender. I haven't heard one person say they're a title contender. And
nobody ever does.
Pretty well. Yeah, and they're playing pretty well. So
are they the dark horse, Carlos?
Listen, I've heard people say Atlas are a title contender, Puebla are a title contender, but nobody said Pachuca's a title contender. So I think they're my dark horse. Yeah, I'm gonna go. They're gonna be my dark horse.
They've been playing well. They've been playing well. I mean, we'll see. They always do things well, but nobody talks about them. They're just like the least sexy team in Liga MX.
Yeah, I don't know.
Team, best way to put it. Shout out to Chiva Hermanos from Chivas del Norte, because we both suffered yesterday. Always putting great content out. Only one standing, which would be America. Shout out to the Eagle Eye podcast crew. They're still standing. Love you guys, but not your team. Let's put it that way. Yeah, so I guess, guys, this will be the end of our pod. Anything else before we wrap up?
It's been a great season. It's been a great season. Not the best season we had. But the worst.
I don't know.
The worst.
I disagree. Ambriz. I can't consider it a great season. For me, it was a failure of a season.
Yeah, I think anytime you get knocked out in the repechaje, it's a failure. But I was speaking podcast wise. It's been a great podcast season.
Yeah.
That's a good comeback.
It was a great podcast season. It was a wonderful podcast season. I thought you were talking about the Never mind. I withdraw my commentary.
Yeah, that's a good. I saved myself there. But anyways, no, yeah, it's been a good podcast season with you guys. Hopefully next season we'll have more Javier and more Jose and more fans. I hope more people in the chat.
Definitely. Sanaku said, "Oh, I'll be generous. It was an okay season."
I mean, I'm sure he is referring to the actual season on the field.
On the field.
Yeah. Not behind the computer screen.
Yeah.
Louis, any last words?
No, just looking forward to putting this behind us and getting going with what's coming up next, both with the team and ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to everybody that was on the chat today. Very active. Thank you so much. We love the conversation. Shout out to Chango Loco, Senaku, Josue Espinosa that probably had a run, Anthony Elias, Liga MX, Meadows, Fernando, Drisno, Jacob Lau, Sanako again, and everybody else that has joined us in all the podcasts, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Periscope on Twitter. Thank you so much for your support this season. I know we've had our ups and downs with our Monday night footballs. You know, they're positive or a negative one. Doing our best to putting all the great Club Leon English content out there for you guys. Thank you so much for just, keeping us there on your tabs open whenever we go live. We appreciate the love. And yeah, so guys, we're going to go ahead and take off. Does that sound good?
Yes. We'll be back next season.
We'll be back next season of the Lines In Podcast. This was episode 79, the end of Era Ambriz. But like Louis said, hopefully not if we have Olan kind of taken over. But yeah, so just keep us on your tabs on Twitter. Make sure to follow us at our accounts. We'll keep you guys updated with everything in regards to, Club Leon news, because there's still plenty of time for possible, confirming of Ariel Olan and any other possible players or departures. We'll keep you guys updated there. Also follow Club Leon EN for everything you need to know on Club Leon in English, and follow the website, keeping you updated as well. We're going to go ahead and take off. We thank you, everybody, all the Fieras, for showing us all the love this season. This will be our last and unfortunate episode because our season is over. We ripped the Band-Aid. We talked about it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys on season 5 of the Lions In Podcast.